Good morning. I'd like to call the commission meeting Tuesday, February 16th, 2021 to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 3 is an invitation for a citizen to schedule time on the commission agenda for item not listed. Is there anybody here? Being there's nobody here, we'll move on to number 4, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. Any additions or corrections?
Under consent agenda items, removing item number F from the agenda today.
Okay.
If we're talking about that item, could that item be moved to our executive session?
I believe there's personnel listed, yes, under exec session already, so.
All those in favor of approving the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item number 5, consent agenda items. Approval of the minutes, approval of travel requests, approval of personnel action notices, approval of cellular authorizations, approval of the human services report. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any additions, corrections? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Pierce,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Boersma, Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 6, routine business. Have approval of the claims. I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Additions or corrections? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Krogman,
Aye.
Boersma, Pierce,
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number B, department head reports. Brian, would you like to start?
I don't have much new to bridge. They're kind of at a standstill with how cold it is. But they are ready to pour concrete when the weather does warm up, so they're hoping later on this week. Aside from that, we're going to be opening our annual supplies and materials bids on the 22nd. And then on March 8th, I believe, for the projects, the overlay in that.
Any questions or anything? Thank you.
Yep.
Lori?
I have nothing new to report. Thank you.
All right. Jacob?
Good morning. Our newest appraiser, Anita, is through her 5-book course, and she has the exam left to take, so she's cruising right along there. Last week, Thursday, I sent the digital assessment notice file to qualified pre-sort. They're legally due to the taxpayers by March 1st, so we're a week and a half, 2 weeks ahead of the game on that. I think Sean this morning just said that the proof file is in our hands, so once we approve that it's okay, then qualified pre-sort will get those out in the mail. That's all I had.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions? No. Thank you. Dustin?
Morning, everybody. Start with attendance. Since our last meeting, we had 122 people through the gun range. Archery range, we had 89. In addition to our regular events that we do every week, Midwest Maidens, they're going to come out and start practicing in the archery range a few times a month. GFP had a district meeting. Sheriff's Office came out and used our classroom one day. Wildlife Federation, they met on February 5th. They had a very good turnout. They had a couple gentlemen from the outdoor campus come down and do a seminar on damage control, so some trapping. After they met, I talked with Stacy Bork, who is a wildlife damage specialist, and talked to him about possibly doing some more things at the Outdoor Adventure Center. He can do seminars on food plots, trapping, coyote hunting, and just regular basic hunting. Started our monthly enhanced classes. Those are full. I think the next 2 are full for March and April. High school, the Brookings High School Clay Target Club came out and they had a meeting in our classroom. We had a couple Cub Scouts come out and they used the archery range. They did some basic archery shooting one night. Pistol Range Committee, we met, talked about a few things that we'd like to change over in the gun range. Beacon Hill, they were out, and then we actually rented the gun range one night on the 11th from 7 to 9. A gentleman called and they did a date night, and it went very well. They had 5 couples come out, use the range from 7 to 9 on a Thursday night. It went pretty good. Train has installed the duck heater in our duct for GFP offices, but we're waiting for an electrician to come wire it up. And then SDSU intramurals, I don't know if you guys remember, but a while back they were going to do like an intramural archery session. They've canceled that due to COVID, and we're going to look at doing something in the fall. That's all I had. Do you guys have any questions for me at all?
Any questions?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob?
Good morning. Well, it looks like our cold snap's about ready to unsnap. Today should be the last. Tonight to about -7 overnight, and then on it's up and away. They're calling for the 40s next week, so we'll take it as we get it. The pod is starting to ramp up. We vaccine dependent once again. We're not going to release the date today. We're going to let the public information officers do that when they're ready. We are having training later today over at our Emergency Operations Center for the call-in center. They anticipate opening the call-in center later this week. When they do, they're published that telephone number and the hours that the people can call in. And as of right now, the latest state guidelines is 70 and older will be given the opportunity to use the call-in line to call in and register for the vaccine. And that's about all I got for today. We got some other stuff on the agenda that we got a plat and some other stuff. We're still doing our radio call. Richard will be on the radio today, and once again, we're talking winter weather awareness, trying to get people past this cold snap. Just because the cold snap's over, don't think winter is over by any stretch of the imagination. We still expect the heavy snowfalls to start coming in as soon as it starts warming up. So just be aware, winter is not over yet, no matter what that little groundhog says. Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Marion, thanks, Bob. Missed nothing? Marty? Okay. So all for department head reports. I guess we'll move down. We have scheduled 9 o'clock and a scheduled 9:30. We'll move down to regular business. Item A, action to approve resolution number 21-07, a plat of block 1 of S&J Farms Addition, located in the south half of the northwest quarter of the north half of the southwest quarter and the west 2 acres of the northeast quarter of all in section 10, township 112 north, range 50 west of the 5th prime meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments on this, Bob?
Yeah, we heard this on our February 3rd planning and zoning meeting. They recommended this 7-0 to send to this board with your recommendation of approval. One thing, this is in the middle of or part of a section, quarter section, but there is a 33-foot easement allowing access into it. So it meets our zoning criteria for approval.
Any questions, comments? Call the roll, please.
Krogman?
Aye.
Boersma? Aye. Pierce?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item B, action to approve abatement number 21-1, an abatement application made by Patrick and Patricia Carey for parcel number 40372 -00600-007-00 in the amount of $1,455.94. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Get a motion and a second. Any background here?
Yeah, this one here is an office error that I took full responsibility for. What happened was we had Patrick and Patricia Carey owning 1719 Augusta Circle for the last 15 years, and there was a new purchase on a new home in Brookings, and it was owner named Patricia Carey. So naturally, when they applied for owner-occupied status on the new home, we sent out a removal letter to this home, not knowing the circumstances and not, calling the person directly to ask. That's our way of notifying that owner-occupied is being removed. We sent a letter. Fast forward in time, and we found out that there's two Patricia Careys, separate owners, so we removed that owner-occupied status on Augusta Circle in error, and the remedy at the time that we found this error was by abatement only because the assessment file had been locked down. So the amount of abatement being requested here is the difference in taxes for a full year between the owner-occupied levy and non-owner-occupied levy.
Any questions? Hearing none, call a roll call, please.
Boersma? Aye. Pierce?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item C, action to approve abatement number 21-2, an abatement application made by the city of Brookings for parcel number 40120-0010.
So 00100, and then there's one extra zero in that next section. It should be -017-00.
In the amount of $1,779.39. I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
A motion second. Background here.
This one here is a property that was purchased by Brookings City, I believe, for something to do with drainage on April 9th of 2020. So the amount of abatement being requested is from that point in time through the end of the year.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Pierce?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Boersma? Aye. Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item D, action to approve abatement number 21-4, an abatement application made by Harvey R. and Harriet J. Savek for the parcel number 03125-11249-333-00 in the amount of $315.22. So I have motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have motion and second. In the background.
This is a rural acreage property that had a house fire. I believe the date was 10/20 of 2020. So the amount of abatement being requested of $315.22 is the taxes on the home from that date through the end of the year.
No questions? Call the roll, please.
Krogman?
Aye.
Boersma? Aye. Pierce?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item E, action to approve abatement number 21-5, an abatement application made by Bonnie Adder for parcel number 12999-00212-018-00 in the amount of $46.52. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments?
This mobile home out in the township was destroyed in July of 2020, and we were notified shortly thereafter. So $46.52 is the amount of taxes on the mobile home from that date through the end of the year.
No questions? Roll call, please.
Krogman?
Aye.
Boersma? Aye. Pierce?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item F, action to approve agreement number 21-08, an agreement between Brookings County and Train U.S. Incorporated for the BCOAC Classroom RTU project. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion second. Dusty has some,
Perfect. That was
Discussion
easy
items.
enough, right? So this unit is going to replace the existing unit we have. It's a 3-ton, and it's a 2-stage unit. So if we got 15 people in the room, it's only going to run at a ton and a half. That's the issue we've been having, and it also has low gas heat, so it won't short cycle itself during the winter. And then the dehumidification, the hot gas reheat. So that should take care of our basically humidity problem in the summer, because it's just cooling down fast, big enough. So the room's not big enough for the existing unit we have right now, if that makes
What are we gonna do with the existing unit?
I would like to keep it. They said it's basically junk. I want to put it alongside the building, or I just talked to Brian, possibly putting it out there. I was trying to save every possible piece that we could off of that, just to save some money. The only thing they said would be useful is the Reliatel board, which is basically the communications between the computer and the system, so I can program everything. When they ordered the new unit, that already came with it, and they gave the example, you don't really want to put a 10-year-old piece of equipment in a brand new unit, which I agreed with. But if that board were to ever go down, maybe we can use it to get us by for a little while. But I think we keep it for a year or two at least, just to see what happens, and then basically scrap it.
Okay.
Any other questions at all?
Any other questions? Hearing none, call roll call, please.
Boersma.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Krogman.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item G, action approve agreement number 21-09, an application for occupancy of the right-of-way county highways made by Sioux Valley Energy in Madera Township. The motion approved.
So moved.
Second.
The motion and a second. Brian, any discussion?
These
here?
are basically taking the overhead down and putting in underground on this series of Sioux Valley permits.
Okay. All those are the same then?
Well, they're part of that same project,
Okay.
just different areas where they're going to bore under the road and get into those residences out there. This is south of town on 77.
Okay. Any questions?
I have a question, and it isn't so much about this project, but as I was reading the packet and looking at the one that we have coming up on the natural gas, how do we keep track of what all is in our right-of-ways? Do we have some system where
We
we're,
have a filing system that we keep all the permits, but I don't think we have like a GIS layer or something that would layer this, but we record the permits per year, you know.
so, and we get a lot of requests, most of them are temporary, but when we get this type of thing and it comes in, it's kind of, when I was talking to Commissioner Krogman, the analogy I used, it's kind of like if you're building a house and the plumber gets there first, the plumber puts his stuff in the best spot, and then when the electrician gets there, maybe there's a little bit of a problem, or when the mechanical engineer gets there, there might be a problem. How do we track where there are distances that are needed, for example, between a natural gas pipe and what we already got in our ditch? I mean,
Go ahead.
We really don't. I mean, there's abandoned lines out there also.
I believe if you contact each entity that has utilities within the right of way, they will have a basic map where all their utilities are. They understand when they're installing these utilities in our right of way, if we have improved the highway or whatever, they'll be responsible for moving it or whatever at their cost. But we don't track where their utilities are, if that's the question.
I guess my question's kind of flipped around. I think we maybe should be tracking what's in our right of way so that we know what's there.
Mm-hmm.
Just a thought. But how do we know when we are going to talk about the natural gas pipe that's going to come up a little later on the agenda, that it's not going to be too close to the electric? That we just rely upon them to be sure?
Well, that's handled through the locates that are done. I mean, that
Was
has
there-
to be an agreement. I don't know what you would call it, Brian.
I wouldn't even, that's gonna be up to them when they install it to make sure that they got the proper distances from whatever utility. Basically, state law allows us to allow them to be in our right of way. I'm getting a little more strict now as far as how close they are to the road, and, you know, or I don't want anything on the inslopes, and, you know, we've seen damage to our culverts and whatnot, but, as far as no matter what we do, when we go out and dig a culvert in or put a sign in, we're calling in locates just like the utility companies would.
And
And-
no matter what, legally, they can't rely on a GIS layer, even if we do track it, because they have to legally call in the locates.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, we're responsible for things that are not our responsibility.
And I'm aware of that. That's when they're laying it. But what I'm curious about is if there's a code, like uniform building code, but that's not applicable here, that governs how close different utilities can be to each other in our right-of-way. And if there is, how we ensure that that's being followed. And when I look at our application for occupancy, I don't see any waiver of liability if there's, where they're going to hold us harmless if there's an issue that comes up from any of that. I just think those are things that maybe we should be having some conversations about, but
I do know ITC with all their fiber, when companies are working within the right of way and they're within so many feet of their fiber optic, that ITC will be present when the excavation is taking place. That's one way they watch theirs, I guess. But
just wanted
So.
to ask some questions for thought.
I mean, there's getting to be more and more in the right of ways because easements are, people are reluctant to do easements anymore.
We have a lot of stuff in our right-of-ways now. I'm a little uncomfortable with us not tracking any of that.
Okay. Item G, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item H, action to approve agreement number 21-10, an application for occupancy of right-of-way of county highways made by Sioux Valley Energy in Madera Township. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. It's similar to the last, it's a bore underneath the road. Any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item I, action to approve agreement number 21-11, an application for occupancy of the right-of-way of county highways made by Sioux Valley Energy in Madera Township. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Similar situation to the last two. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item J, action to approve agreement number 21-12, an application for occupancy of the right-of-way of county highways made by Sioux Valley Energy in Preston Township. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Similar situation to the previous three. Any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item K, action to approve the purchase and installation of a repeater in the city of Elkton. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Bob, in the background?
Okay, I submitted a staff report in your file. The East Dakota, East Central Regional Communication Council met January 21st. We discussed the Elkton repeater. They have no issues with us putting it in. If the recommendation is to purchase it, it requires us to install a new radio into the quote-unquote, the county side of the 911 center so that we can add additional communications to it for the county. Right now, there's a 4-channel radio under the county in there, and we got all 4 channels tied up. So the quote that is estimated at $20,608, and $1,190 of that is for mobile radio, and then $2,850 of that is for the installation and trip That includes both at the 911 center and installing the antenna on the water tower in Elkton. And we expect, looks like approximately $1,133.20 will come out of the 911 center's budget because of the install and the actual equipment. We've got a 2/3, 1/3 criteria for equipment that's actually inside the 911 center. But the majority of the cost and everything else is outside the 911 center, and it's the county's responsibility to cover it. I make a recommendation that you approve this purchase and we start the process of getting the antenna installed.
Okay. Any questions?
So this will cover the issue. Is that going to communicate between, because we were talking about Brookings Tower and Elkton Tower and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, and so this will allow that communication to
I
take place?
contacted Sioux Falls Solutions, the old Sioux Falls two-way, and they said, yep, it should be straight line of sight from the Brookings antenna straight into the Elkton repeater.
And they're okay putting it on the water tower?
The Elkton City Council met and approved.
Commissioner Pierce?
Which of the expenses is the upgrade over at the dispatch?
Pardon me, ma'am?
You said there had to be another channel put in for the system over at the dispatch,
Yes, at the dispatch, there's a whole bank of radios.
right?
Just like our,
What cost is associated with upgrading that from 4 to 5?
it's, well, you don't just go from 4 to 5, we're gonna go to a 16-channel thing, but the cost is $1,190 for the radio, and then part of that $2,850 is for the installation in that facility.
But then we'll have a 16 channel?
There'll be 16 channels, so that means there'll be approximately 11 channels left over that we can add additional radio communications, various components of communications to.
We've got room to grow.
Yes,
Right.
And then did this get voted on at the 911 meeting?
it did, and approved.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think anything we can do to improve the 911 communication is money well spent, so.
Budget-wise, where's it coming out of county side? Your side? Is it emergency?
Well, to come out of my side, obviously, it'll probably end up having,
See.
we'll have to see at the end of the year.
Okay.
I didn't program $20,000 in my budget for this.
Right.
I've got a disaster line in my budget, but that disaster line's only supposed to be held off for disaster. This would not qualify in my mind, at least under it, whereas the pod very, very, very well qualify. So there's a good chance I'm gonna come back asking for money near the end of the year to supplement my budget.
Okay.
Hearing no other comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Item M, action to approve a request to fill vacancy for 2 seasonal ATV drivers in the Weed and Pest Department. Do I have a motion to approve?
There's Miss L.
L.
Oh, sorry. Item L, action to automatically supplement for unanticipated expenses incurred and reimbursed made to the Brookings County Sheriff's Department in the amount of $7,847.24, receipt number 539012 to GL line 101-4-211-4251 for reimbursement from insurance for a damaged patrol vehicle. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion, a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item M, action to approve a request to fill vacancy for 2 seasonal ATV drivers in the Weed and Pest Department. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments?
This is just our typical ATV position we fill every year lately. I'm hoping to get someone in, or 2 guys in here that'll come back next year and possibly the year after. So, and it makes it easier in the summertime when they can go out and spray where the trucks can't reach.
We be getting these people in early enough that they can get trained and everything?
That's why we're starting so early,
Okay.
because now we have to go to Watertown for, Watertown, Madison, and possibly Sioux Falls to take our certification for our spray and applicator license. We have to go different places because SDSU, the lady switched jobs that was there, so they don't have anybody to fill that spot now, so we have to go elsewhere. So it's not just like, yep, you come into work at 8 o'clock that day and you go up to SDSU. No, you got to travel.
What skills are you looking for in those people?
Generally, a farm background, you know, have an idea of what chemicals you're spraying, where you spray. You know, it's just, it's common sense. But we are required to have the certified commercial applicator license. And that's mainly the hardest, that's the biggest hurdle that they have to get over.
It's also helpful if they've driven an ATV before, too.
That too.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
It did.
Okay. Any other questions?
No other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Mr. Chair?
It is 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I believe our, Mr. Gim was going to call in this morning. I believe he is with us.
Okay.
I am.
Schedule agenda items, letter A at 9 o'clock. Robert Gem from Northwest Energy. Item I, action to approve resolution number 21-05, a resolution giving permission to Northwestern Corporation, a Delaware corporation, DBA Northwestern Energy, to construct, lay, maintain, and operate natural gas pipelines and mains on and along Brookings County roads. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Robert, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Your YouTube feed is a little lagged behind, I think, from our conversation. I'm going to try and shut that down. The purpose of this franchise is they term out every 20 years by state statute. So this is just a renewal of our existing facilities within your county. It's for county roads and highways under your jurisdiction. So that would include county highways and township roads and highways. As far as the layers of jurisdiction on county highways, there's still a requirement to get a occupancy utility permit, so that remains in place. This is just a part of this franchise is just a part of the jurisdiction for utilities in the state of South Dakota. Are there any questions?
I had a question, Robert. When you're doing along the township roads, do you notify the township supervisors?
I do. My view on that is township road may be, well, it always is along the statutory right-of-way, which is 33 feet on either side of a section line in the state of South Dakota. But the road is still the township property. And so I think they have every right to be notified of our projects and any concerns addressed.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission?
So is this just
Commissioner
kind of,
Krogman?
is this kind of a blanket agreement that, so now if you guys decide to make a expansion of your natural gas system, that you don't have to come back to us and let us know where you're going to go and put this, or how it's going to be done? Is this just kind of the stamp that says, yeah, you're okay? Or is this something that says, we're still okay with your existing line, but if you add to it and want to extend it or expand it, that you'll come back to us and ask for permission similar to what other utilities are doing?
We do come back to you, and that's under the jurisdiction of Highway Department. So they have a utility occupancy permit that they'll grant to a utility utility like Northwestern Energy, and I'm sure the highway department, highway superintendent brings those before you for approval. So that'd be this franchise covers roads and highways under your jurisdiction. So any state highway, federal highways are under the jurisdiction of the DOT, South Dakota DOT.
Any other questions? Hearing none, call roll call, please.
Pierce,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Boersma,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
motion carries.
Item number 2, action to approve agreement number 21-07, an application made by Northwestern Corporation, a Delaware Corporation, DBA Northwestern Energy for permission to construct, lay, maintain, and operate natural gas pipelines and mains in and along the right-of-way of public highways of Brookings County, South Dakota. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
They have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, call the roll call, please.
Krogman,
Aye.
Boersma,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
motion carries.
Okay, Robert, thank you for attending.
Thank you for your time. You'll have a good day.
You too.
Back to regular business. Action to declare items as surplus property to dispose of, a Dell computer and Lenovo computer. Have a motion approved.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion here?
In your packet, you should have received information on 2 items that we would like to surplus and dispose of. Both of these items, asset number 17-114 and asset number 17-113. Both of these computers were acquired when we purchased the Outdoor Adventures Center back in 2017. Both of these computers have been replaced or will be replaced. So,
And they will be disposed of, correct?
correct.
Okay. Any questions? Other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item O. Action approve the following board appointments. Do I have a motion to approve?
What
You
is
wanna
it that,
take one at a time?
I'm not sure how we did.
Yeah, start with for the First District Association position.
We'll do the, yes, sorry about that. First District Association, one position. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve Kelly Vanderwall.
second?
I have a motion and a second to approve Kelly Vanderwall to the First District Association Board. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item number 2, Housing and Redevelopment Commission. Is one position open? We have 2 applicants. Do I have a motion?
I would make a motion to appoint Dan McCauley.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to appoint Dan McCauley to the Housing and Redevelopment Commission. Any discussion?
Just want to note that Kyle Nelson's application also included the note on it that he'd be willing to serve in other boards. So I would propose that we hold on to that application because it's really helpful to have folks who are willing to serve. And so that's, I think, an important one to hold on to.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Dan McCauley is approved. Item number 3, Planning and Zoning Commission, District 3. We have 1 position open. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'd move to approve Neil Troyan.
Second?
I have a motion and a second for Neil Troyan for Planning and Zoning District 3. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Neil Troyan approved for Planning and Zoning Commission, District 3. Bob, is that filling out a current term? Or is that a? Okay,
They will tell you which one.
all right, thank you. Item 4, Planning and Zoning Commission, District 4. We have one position. Do I have a motion to approve?
I would move to appoint Brian Gatsky.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Brian Gatsky to the Planning and Zoning Commission, District 4. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Brian Gatsky approved to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Item 5, Planning and Zoning Commission alternate position is one position. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have one applicant. Would you like to include that in your motion?
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, I didn't hear what's being included.
The applicant's name in the motion, Dale Storhog.
I have a motion and a second to appoint Dale Storhog to Planning and Zoning Commission alternate position. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
I do have a question for Bob, though. Which of the two alternates is Mr. Storhog replacing? Or you could just say who our other alternate is if you're unsure of that.
The other alternate is, lives down on the lake. Now you.
Roger Erickson?
Roger Erickson.
So those will be our two alternates now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess I'd like to say thank you to all the people that submitted application, and it's great to have options, and I'd just like to thank them people again, so.
Yeah.
Item number P, review of draft housing ordinance. Mike, would you like to come forward?
So I did go through and looked at our old ordinance from 1991 and just sort of updated that language. There's some things to note as we go through here. You know, this is just kind of a general review of this ordinance. There was discussion about the appointment process. There were some notes from past city council meetings that the city dissolved their housing board, and it was stated that the county would then appoint 3 individuals from the city of Brookings onto the Housing and Redevelopment Commission. I could not find anywhere in the county's minutes where it said that we would do that, but it was stated in the city council's minutes that we would. If that is something that you want to do, and then I know there was discussion about having a commissioner as a member, a voting member on this board as well. Right now, with the appointment today of Dan McCauley, who is in the city of Brookings, Jason Moosberger is in the city, but our other 2 are both out of the city the Brookings, the city proper. So if they're going to do a commissioner, if you're going to follow that, where you're going to have 3 city members, or city residents rather, then the commissioner has to be from the city of Brookings as well to keep that consistent. So, but that is, again, a topic of discussion, if that's something that you're even interested in doing. Otherwise, the language was pretty straightforward other than that. So I guess this was just sort of a chance to review this. Once we come back with, firmed up the language, this will come back for the typical first reading, second, publication, second reading. So.
in the city minutes, it did say that, and that's from the 90s. And then the city never, ever had anything to do with this particular board again. And the county commission never agreed to that condition. I myself think we don't need that in our resolution. Not that 3 city members wouldn't be just great, but what about when we can't find somebody? Why would we limit ourselves in that regard? That's just my thoughts on that.
I think slightly more open language would be helpful so that there is representation from the city, representation from the county at large, not necessarily specifying a quantity of each. Yeah.
And Stacy, when you do your next draft where it says the members shall be appointed by the chairman, would you say chairperson? In
Last
number 2.
sentence. Number 2.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The only other thing that I saw, I think we should just follow the language of the statute that requires the report to the commission in January of each year. I think we should just put in there what the statute says because that helps everybody remember that that's there. And that would just be a new section 10 maybe. The other question I had, that record of all such funds and revenues shall be submitted at least quarterly to the Brookings County Board of Commissioners. Has that been happening? That's what's in the current resolution, is that right?
Correct. Yes. I don't think I added that language, no.
Yeah.
And that is why we have quarterly meetings. They give us the update on what is going on as far as that, and we do a review of the finances at that time.
Right, but that then is supposed to be submitted to the county commission through the finance
Oh,
office.
I thought it was just the housing commission.
That's
Okay.
not what the resolution, I mean, I think this matches what the current resolution says, and I don't think that ever has got, I've never seen that as a county
I can
commissioner.
surely bring them in.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. Because we do get them every quarter.
Do you have a copy of that in front, the resolution? If Stacy, could you move that down to number 9 so Mike could see what we're looking at?
Okay, so the finance office.
So if that got included in a staff report as a part of our packet, that would be great.
Sure.
Yes, that language was in the original resolution as well.
And I just don't think we've been doing that. And when it says, or such other officer as shall be appointed by the commission, so did we appoint Ram? Is that the officer we're referring to in there? I just want to know how that's happened. I can't remember.
I thought when I was sat on the board, we had a contract with them to carry out all of that.
And
type
it's
of-
just been renewed.
It's just
for
been
3 years.
renewed.
every
Yep.
year, stuff like that. Rather than us doing it, they do it,
Right.
handle it.
The state, doesn't the state do that and then we approve, or?
No, Ram Enterprises has, I think, 6 or 8 different housing boards like ours that they administer the program. They follow all the HUD rules. They know all of it, both in South Dakota and Minnesota. And then what they did is they brought us a proposal that was reviewed and was approved, and that's when it takes place. But
I think it's a private company, right?
it is a private company, yes.
Yeah,
Like I say, this private company, they, because of the situation where we've hired them, and like I say, I know 2 or 3 of the other ones that are in the state of South Dakota. Where it's really been beneficial to us is for our, it's not a program that the housing, it falls under housing, but it's for deposits. And so they wrote for the grant, and actually that's above and beyond our contract, but the grant to do the deposits for housing. And since Brookings had used all their money up 3 months prior to the end of the year, we were able to go to the other housing places that Ram also has control over and bring that money from those into Brookings. So it's, last year, I think we got about 25,000 that we never planned on coming in for deposits because we were using them. So my comment, I guess, as far as RAM is concerned, I'm very happy that Brookings County has decided to use them because it has been to our favor. Now, we've had some of our vouchers that we've given to other housing areas, but we've never had the money to fully implement all of our vouchers.
And I wonder, Stacy, I'd like to see that contract with RAM, just to read it in conjunction with these two things for our next meeting. Would you mind sending that out? Thank you.
I guess I got the question according to this resolution. Being a city resident, I currently serve on this board. I probably should not be. Do we need to appoint
No.
somebody else?
No, no, I think that we're going to change that language so it's a mix of both, and we're not set on a set number of so many rural, so many city, just as long as there's at least one from both.
And we're not going to be set on chairman of the board, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
And that never was in anything in writing that I saw. Did you see that
No,
anywhere?
it was just,
No, the statutes say that a county commissioner can serve on that board, but it never made any note that that person had to be the chair. So it can be someone on the county commission who could stay on that from year to year. So you have some of that knowledge being kept on that board.
And I think that would be really beneficial. You know, we tend to stay on a board or a committee for a period of time, so we get familiar with it. Where RAM, the Housing Commission only meets 4 times a year, and I don't think they met that often last year because of COVID. So I feel like we don't really have a very good handle on what's going on with that, and it would be better if it's not the chair, who is really kind of busy, you know, to put a commissioner that's interested in it on there, somebody that maybe would stay for a period of time and would have a better understanding of what's going on.
But
I agree.
We did meet 4 times.
I just think Chairman Bartley told me that I don't think he ever was at a meeting.
That's correct.
okay.
I mean, if Larry's got a lot on his plate, if we wanted to change that this year, since we haven't met, I could certainly take it over.
And I think that would be a good discussion to have once we are maybe at the second
it.
reading of this. Then I think that's probably the time to note that and make that change on our appointment list.
That'd be good.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Thank you. Do you have a staff report?
Oh, not much. I was staying downstairs. Eileen did not make it into work today, so.
Okay.
The only report I have is that the CARES Act has been opened up again, and so we are now again doing the applications online through the housing. The rules are a little tighter this time. We don't anticipate as many people qualifying. The first time through, I think South Dakota got 9 million. At that time, approximately 6 million of it was spent, so there's about 3 million sitting out there. That has to last us the entire year. That's the reason they're making the rules a little tighter. But I will also say that the staff at ICAP that were processing them, there's one woman there that was doing it, and she did the 4th largest number of applications in the entire state. So Pennington, Minnehaha, Lincoln, and then Brookings was the 4th largest user of those funds.
How did they change the rules, Mike, when you said the rules changed?
Before, they were getting a little more lenient on how COVID affects you. Now they're going to ask for more documentation, and basically, if there's any gray, they'll deny them. Before, if there was some gray and we knew we had that many $1 million sitting out there, they were a little more apt to approve it.
Okay. Thank you. We have a scheduled 9:30. We have 5 minutes. Would you like to take a break or?
Use Stacy's report.
I could probably do my
Okay.
report fairly quickly. It's fairly short today. Just a couple of, you need to get a registration payment submitted. So right now I have Commissioner Boersma and Commissioner Jensen going. Do either of you know if you do not plan to attend, Ryan? Do you know it's March? Yeah. So so it starts on the 17th at about 8:30 in the morning is what it has right now, 8:30. So potentially go out the night before on that Tuesday, the 16th. And then it wraps up about 3 o'clock on Thursday, the 18th.
I would like to say, and if you didn't mind sharing this with Chris or Bob or whoever would be appropriate, I'm really disappointed in the fact that no provision was made for anybody to attend long distance if they had COVID concerns. It seems to me that, and I know she said that she hadn't made any arrangements and it was too late to decide. I don't know why that can't even be available by audio. That's not a big thing to get set up, but
Yeah.
I am disappointed that the organization didn't do that.
Yep. Yes? Okay. And then the other thing that I have out, that I handed out this morning was kind of the year-end look at the budget for this building. That was presented to the Joint Powers Board last week. Overall, we were about, the budget was fine last year. It was more than fine. A lot of that had to do with, we had ended a contract for IT services for this building, and we're just doing it as needed instead of having a set contract, which was, we were spending more than really truly the benefit that we were receiving for that. And there was a couple things we were going to look at, insurance and things that I was going to visit with the city about, but otherwise that budget was just fine at the end of last year. That's all I really have, other than, again, the only notice, future notice is spring workshop in March coming up. So unless you have any questions for me, that's all I have for today.
I guess we can move on to state's attorney's report.
We can go ahead and start the 9:30. It's not anything that was like needed
Okay.
to be legally noticed, so starting a couple minutes early is fine.
All right. Go back to scheduled agenda items. Item number B, 9:30. Jeff Schaefer, legislative audit, discussion on moving to a cash basis reporting. Item I, action to approve resolution number 21-06, a resolution changing the financial reporting of Brookings County funds from GAAP, modified accrual basis, to special purpose reporting standards, modified cash basis. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion. Jeff, there you are. Thank you.
Yep, I'm here. I have no any questions that you might have going along that lines. The only thing that is I think you've already checked, do your debt agreements allow you to go report on a matter other than GAAP? Other than, special purpose reporting cash basis, they allow that? And if I think that's the only big flaw in the ointment, or fly in the ointment would be, that didn't require that, so. They've relaxed that a lot over the last few years. It used to be when GAAP first came out, if you had any kind of, even the state, if you had SRF money, or if there was landfill and stuff like that, they required that every report on a GAAP basis, but a lot of federal requirements have relaxed some, and they no longer require that. So like, counties like Walworth County, I'll just give for example, they have a big landfill there, and they used to report on GAAP, but their cash basis now, the feds allow that. So it's been.
So there wouldn't probably be any type of unintended consequences of not qualifying for grants or not,
None.
none of that type of stuff.
None that I'm
where
aware of. No, you'd have to, as far as what, you're still required to do all of the, keep track of your capital assets and your debt, and just like you normally would, your records would be the same. It's just for reporting purposes, you just go on a cash basis. And you would just have, basically, your balance sheet is just going to be cash fund balance. There are no receivables, no payables, no fixed assets, no debt, no OPEB stuff, no compensated absences, all that stuff comes off there.
I'm familiar with what this document says, modified cash basis. How is it modified?
The only modification would be the investments. I think what we have is that any investments under 90 days are considered cash. I believe that we have no disclosure that says that, so it's just strictly cash. You can, modify in any number of like 15 different ways, but every one of them takes you closer to GAAP. So, and this is the method in which everybody else is going with, is that just modified cash is what it is. So, and just for investments, that's what most entities are doing. If they're not full-blown GAAP, they're that.
If we made that change now, how is that going to impact our budget for this year? Is that?
Yeah, it won't impact your budget at all. It's just strictly a reporting, your annual report. In fact, I think you could report 21s on cash basis if you wanted to, or 20s report to the state would go in and you could prepare on a cash basis.
Then at the end of the year, if we have money left in a budget, am I understanding this right, Stacy, from what you said before? Everything just December 31st moves over to general fund. If you didn't get your bill in and get it paid, it moves
Correct.
over.
There is going to be a deadline as to when bills come in December. Now, this may mean that the commission, unlike this year, you may need to meet at the end of, closer to the end of the year. We canceled that meeting because we had claims that could still be paid in January for the prior year. So, but yes, so at the end of November, each department will get their budget and they will see, and they will have X many dollars left. And that is what they have in their budget that they can spend for the rest of that year. So we'll have a deadline as to when to get those final bills to the finance office for payment at a year-end meeting. And then once those are paid and once that deadline is passed, those bills get paid, we cut it off. So then anything that comes in after that will get pushed into the next fiscal year's budget. So, there shouldn't be much for impacts this year for budget. There really shouldn't be. There's going to be a little bit of a learning curve with our department heads. We had that discussion at the department head meeting that this is coming forward, and we'll just kind of walk everybody through that as it gets towards year end. But it does make life a lot easier for the finance office for reporting purposes. It makes things a lot cleaner at year end. We're not worried about extra bills, that unanticipated or unknown bills that are still coming in that may affect the budget, and we've already done with the year, and the commission can no longer make any changes or fixes, so to speak. So, no, I think this is the way to go. We are one of 3 counties in the state that do the full GAAP reporting right now, the other 2 being Minnehaha and Pennington, and I think Lori had conversations. The only reason that they're still doing it, or at least maybe Pennington, is because a bond document requires them to do so. Otherwise, they would be looking at moving as well. So, yeah, Harding County was kind of the last other small county that was doing it, and they switched over, I believe, in 2019.
So how does that work, hypothetically speaking? We get to November, we know, let's say on a bridge, we got a $500,000 bill that's not paid yet. And we don't have the bill yet.
Yep.
But we have the money for it right now.
Yep.
Then we get to December 31st, that money goes back to it goes to the 201 fund?
Correct.
The general fund in the 201
Right,
fund.
and then it would be just like we're doing now. If we didn't get that bill paid, that it rolls into their fund balance, and then we do a supplemental budget hearing, knowing that we had budget last year that went unspent, that we need to bring back out and put into the current year's budget so we can pay a bill that was anticipated in the prior year. It's the same thing that we would do now. That hasn't changed.
Any other questions? Thank you.
You're welcome.
you need to do a roll call on the resolution.
Okay. No other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Roll call.
We have to do a
Oh,
roll call with the resolution, sorry.
Oh, roll call.
Krogman?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I just did have one more question, it didn't influence my vote, but because this just sounds like such a better way, how come we haven't switched before? Has there been conversation?
So when I first started doing the annual report back in 2008, we were kind of told then that all counties were going to be going towards the full gap. And so, working with legislative audit, they said, you don't want to change because everyone's going to have to go this way, Well, that really hasn't panned out. And so, it was one of those things where we would get through it, we would get our annual report finished. And then the rest of the year, it really doesn't affect us during the year until we get to year end again. And then we're like, man, we needed to look into that and get it done. So it's just one of those things where, you kind of, after the annual report is done and finished and year wraps up and you kind of go through, and then by the time we get to year end and start worrying about it again, then it kind of comes to top of mind, but then you're concerned about doing year end and getting this all done. So the timing just worked out now to get it done.
Okay. Well, we'll keep moving on. Commissioner reports and discussion items. Commissioner Pierce.
Fourth, I attended the public affairs meeting. We talked some about various different pieces of legislation. I've been attending the Wednesday meetings that I think I told you all about before, that anybody that's interested is welcome to join, and where our lobbyist, Matt Krogman, comes and reports on various different bills, and that's all on Zoom. And if you have an interest, we can get you involved in that. Then on February 5th, I participated in an assessment interview with Annie Brokenleg from the UJS regarding the JDAI program. And as part of what we talked about what's going on over at the remodel at the detention center regarding the juvenile cells, and visited a little bit about that. And what came out of that meeting is she is setting up a meeting with Sheriff, I'm not sure if it's going to be Bart or if it's going to be Dave, somebody from the Brookings County Sheriff's Office, and myself, and somebody from DOC, and the person that's running JDII, just to look at what we're doing with the new cells that we'll be using for juveniles at the jail. So these are folks that have some training in that, and if we need to build anything into what we're doing with our remodel, it'd be nice if we talked about it now instead of 2 years from now. So, and then we'll come back with a report to the commission on that. Then on February 10th, Stacy and I met with Judge Stoltenberg and Jenny for a meeting on the courthouse, and we did a little look-see at the courtroom upstairs on 3rd floor. I think it's called Courtroom A now, and talked about some issues regarding security and some issues regarding staffing and all of that, and decided that we will meet quarterly and talk about issues at the courthouse. So I don't know, Stacy, if you have anything to add to that.
No, it was a good meeting, though.
Yeah, it was a good meeting. And then on February 11th, we had a joint powers meeting, and Stacy's already talked to you about the budget stuff, which was really good from that meeting. What also came out of that is Stacy is going to talk to Safe and Secure regarding some additional security for this building, whether there's any recommendations and anything that we ought to be looking at for the protection of this building and our glass doors and windows on 1st floor.
We already reached out to them, and I believe they're going to be here, I think soon, maybe even this week, because they were nearby, but I think within the next couple of weeks, so should get information back quickly.
On February 11th, I attended the pandemic POD meeting by Zoom that Bob already reported on. And that was a good meeting. And what I came away with, Bob, from that meeting is that it's anticipated that the pod will be activated, depending on doses, maybe sometime in the next 2-3 weeks. Is that an accurate representation there? So all the planning, all the talking we do over the years, we might be going to use that. On February 13th, I attended by Zoom the the second District 7 Legislative Forum that was put on by the Public Affairs Committee. And again, it was a good meeting, good discussion. That's all I have to report.
Commissioner Krogman.
Sat into a Zoom meeting with the city development group that they have concerning the Beta joint bus garage with the school district. And so utilities were there, fire were there, police, all that good stuff. And group, pretty good sized group. And so we just discussed, we had about an hour is what we had, and we used every minute of it to discuss potential hurdles of that. And so that was a good meeting. It's a meeting that is good to have now to discuss that, because time is of the essence potentially for this thing to happen. And if a grant rolls out, we got to try to get stuff started to make sure we're in good position. And so the land portion of it, and the utilities portion of it will be a part of that. So then on the 5th, I had a conference call with the Beta members to discuss the meeting, and we did that. And then on the 11th, Larry and I met with Dustin and Stacy in her office, and just did some planning and some discussion on BCOAC. So that's about what I had.
Commissioner Borsman.
February 11th, being as Commissioner Pierce mentioned. After that, walked through some of the from the city to kind of strategize how we want to address the stair, and particularly in the failure of the veneer on the main stair from first to second floor. So we have a tentative strategy. We'll probably meet with Preferred Woodworks and Clark Drew Construction to talk through that strategy and make sure it's feasible, talk through the cost implications of that before we bring that back for the next Joint Powers Board meeting. And then the 13th, also attended the District 7 Legislative Forum via Zoom. Those have been really well attended and really productive conversations thus far, I thought. And then the last update for me is that the Samara Avenue update, the Samara Avenue RFP for civil engineering services. I've gotten the red lines all incorporated from the city of Olga and folks who are kind of on our little subcommittee. That should be ready to go to upload to the website probably later today. The deadline for submissions on that will be Tuesday, March 16th at 2 p.m. So 4 weeks from today, it will be published in local papers here for the next 2 weeks. So any civil engineers in the area that are interested in doing that, that'll be on the Brookings County website under our RFP tab, I suppose. I don't know that we have a link for that specifically yet.
RFTs are might be under bids.
Under bids.
Yeah.
There you go. Yep. So that should be ready to go by the middle of March. We'll be evaluating proposals and hopefully awarding a contract in early to mid-April. That's what I got.
Okay. I guess most of mine started the day with the jail meeting. Due to the cold weather, it kind of slowed down, but they were doing certain things that weren't within their schedule just to be ahead of the game when it does warm up. Left that meeting and attended the meeting with the pod when we're basic concerns and everything when we eventually activate the pod. That was at noon. I went back till 1 o'clock. It was a noon meeting at 1 o'clock. I went back to a jail meeting. basically discussing security within the jail. I didn't realize all the different types of locks that were used within the jail and all the doors, and it was interesting what all goes into that, the planning. At 3:00, left that meeting and met with Ryan and Stacy and Dustin on some BCOA issues, and that's all I have. So, move on to item number 12, executive session in accordance with South Dakota Codified Law, number 1-25-2, parenthesis 1, parenthesis 4, personnel and contract negotiations. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We'll take a brief recess and be in executive session.